Welcome to the Say Yes Movement Podcast with Heather and John, where we help you with your professional and personal growth, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff. Hey, Heather, how's it going?
It's going good, John. It is February. Wow, how is the time going by so quickly already?
Yeah, and ironically, today is
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog's Day.
Groundhog's Day. This is one of those really funny days, John. I think it's a funny day. There's a whole movie that's made about it, about,
Mm,
feeling like things are just repeating and repeating. And this is also, I think, a unique week where, we've seen statistics where people that have made New Year's resolutions, this is the time, if you haven't already, that you're probably going to let go of those resolutions or not take
mm.
action or start to beat yourself up because you didn't do those things. So it's actually not a great week from that perspective. And statistics say 93% of people have already failed their New Year's resolutions. And we actually have a different methodology. We never make New Year's resolutions because that means something's broken and it needs to be fixed. So,
Mm.
John, tell us what we do instead.
Yes, what we do, Heather, is we set our intention for the year. Actually, there's a couple of different things, right? Number one is we do set an intention in terms of what we want to do. We have a word that is our guiding light and our beacon as we go throughout the year. And we just get very clear on those things, right? And you know what? The one thing I do love, and today, yes, it's also Groundhog's Day, but it is Celebration Friday. So we also got to celebrate as
Ooh.
well, right? Because creating that winning mentality is key. And how do you do that? Is you remind yourself every week where you're winning. So there's a variety of different things, but you know what? I want you to explore and expand on the intention piece because I know you mentioned that in our last podcast as well. So share it with
100%.
everybody here. Yeah.
Yeah, so think about that resolution process. If resolution means something needs to be resolved, and that means something needs to be fixed. And what I want everyone to hear is none of us are broken. We're doing the best that we can, and our goal is to do better each day and measure against ourselves. So
Mm.
this is why the power of an intention can actually move us forward rather than hold us back. And moving forward, it means that we have something to strive for. We can see and visualize who we want to be in that intention. So, many people make an intention for a better, healthy choices in their life.
Hmm.
That might be going to the gym, that might be meditation, that might be eating differently. And actually, you can measure yourself against your intention every single day. Your actions then say, am I on my intention or do I need to recalibrate to get back onto my intention? And that means that every single day towards your intention is a new measurement of success and a new restart day. So it's always day one. So guess
Yeah.
what happens if it's always day one? You're never failing because you're just making new choices. And John, you are the expert at this because you make some pretty incredible choices, to get movement into your day every single day. But you don't do it because it's easy. You do it because you have an intention. So tell us, like, what goes through your
Yeah.
mind as you make those choices every day?
Well, I think I mentioned this. I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but this year is a big milestone year for me, right? So we have those milestone birthdays, and this is one of those years. And one of the things I set as an intention, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, through my vision board, was to be at the healthiest that I could be at, and to be the fittest that I could be at this age. So some of you
Mm.
are probably guessing what that is. Some of you that know me personally, you know what that is. But I really want to just set myself apart from where I was even just 5 years ago. And, to tell you the truth, there are mornings where I don't want to get out of bed. There are
Yeah.
mornings where I just rather sleep in and not do anything and just kind of like veg and whatever. But, the intention of getting and being the fittest that I can be at this age means I got to do things I would not normally do. And a big part of it and what drives me, and I'll just share this with everybody, you got to know your why, you got to know your purpose. And, as I look back, my parents are no longer with me. I lost them at 63 and 73. And to me, I wonder, is there something that they could have done differently, something that I could have helped them do differently to be here with us today? And the truth is, I don't know because they're not with me. But, is there anything that I can do within myself that could change that? So there are
Mm.
things that I've been putting into place. Nutrition system, Heather, is a big part of what I do to make sure that I'm taking care of my body. But getting that movement in so I can, signing up for another Ironman or an Ironman 70.3 in July is one way to keep me on track with my purpose, my big vision, my big intention for myself. And then, going back to that word for the year for 2024 is to believe, right?
Mm.
You touched on something really important there. If your vision, your goal, your intention for yourself in 2024 is health, then maybe that's your word. Like, just really simple, keep it top of mind. It's there for you. It becomes your guiding beacon, especially when, those days that come in, especially as we're going through these dark months of January, February, March, not a lot of light. It's cloudy outside. Some might say it's miserable outside. That word becomes your beacon and your light. And this is why I
Mm.
love the power words. Heather, I know you've got an amazing word for 2024 as well. What's your word?
Well, here's the fun thing. We do this exercise every single year, John. And, the words that we chose last year, they were our
Mm,
superpowers. They helped us see the world through a different lens. And we took some time this year to come up with our word.
mm,
And sometimes you have to look around you and see what's influencing, what's impacting you. And we both landed on the same word. And that's because of an influence that we've had watching Ted Lasso. And if
yeah,
anybody's a Ted Lasso fan, you know what our word is already. If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, I highly recommend it, especially if you are a leader of people, because this is, truth bombs for leadership like crazy in this Apple
yeah.
series. But both of our words, we're sharing the same word, and actually it's going to propel us because it's now going to be a double superpower. And our word and my word is believe. And believe, what that means for me right now, and it's going to change throughout the year, is in order for me to be successful, in order for me to do the things that I know are going to be difficult, in order for me to do things I've never done before and get out of my own way, I have to believe it's possible. And, you
Mm,
talked about, could your parents have done something different? I think that one thing that anyone can do differently right now is, do you have a role model for what success looks like? Because
yeah.
I know my parents didn't have role models that looked differently than what they did from a health
Hmm.
perspective. And age has changed. We are living longer. We need to think about mobility and health and wellness and longevity. And so this belief system, this belief of, or believe as the word, is going to be that propelling force for both of us through
Yeah.
2024 and beyond. So I can't wait to see how it shows up, how it percolates, how it influences my decisions. And it looks like it's already influenced yours, John, because you are signed up for an Ironman. This is so exciting.
Yeah, no, it's you're right. That word that becomes your beacon for the year. And the one thing both of us we both did is we tried on different words, right?
We did, yes.
So you don't have to be totally married to a word if it doesn't resonate with you. Try it on, right? Like, just try it for a day or two. How does that fit with you? Because I know when I started off the year, I had a very different word. It was growth, right? And going through the exercise, okay, let's see what this looks like for the next day or two. And I'm like, okay, growth, 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 growth. Okay, that's good, but it's not like setting me on fire, right? And then the other word was impact. I want to make impact. I want to do impact. Da, 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 da. And then where it really came down to the word believe is, believing no matter your age, no matter where you are in terms of your circumstances, creating that environment for you, just having the belief. And we know the power of the subconscious mind, whatever you put in your subconscious ends up becoming your beliefs and your reality for you. So why not believe that anything is possible? But really, because we tell our kids all the time, right? You can do anything. And then somehow we grow up and we forget that we can do anything. So
Right.
it's kind of like stepping back into our childhood a little bit and saying, you know what? I can't do anything. Just because I'm at a certain age in my life doesn't define me, right? Because I think what happens too, and I'm talking for myself, people who get to my age is, oh man, at this point in my life, I should be here, and I should do this, and I should start planning for retirement, and I got to look at what the next 15 years look. I'm like, come on, like,
Well, and
you
look
can
at those
redefine
words
yourself. Yeah.
that people say, I should, I should, I should.
Hmm.
And when you're saying those words, you're actually articulating, I failed, I failed, I failed.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to help you believe. That's not going to help you move you forward. So check
No.
your language, because your language might actually also be holding you back. And I love this, childlike wonder of the word believe. And I love that you tried on those other words, growth, impact. And actually, there's a connection point, right? If you believe that you can impact 1 million people, if you believe that you're going to grow this year, then all of your actions are going to honor and be in line with that belief system. So
Yeah.
believe is going to be an extremely powerful word. And I'll tell you the other piece that believe does for us, and feel free to use our word too if this is
Yeah.
resonating with you. But watch Ted Lasso too at the same time. But the belief, we don't even understand fully all of the inputs that are in our brains already, that it's limiting our ability to see the world. So belief, you can almost like put a new lens on and see the world through the eyes of belief. And all of a sudden it's kind of like that Peter Pan syndrome where that little boy that's in an adult body coming out, and that's the power of really being wondrous and believing and having unbelievable belief, like no matter what's in my way, I'm going to be able to get through this. And that's the truth for every human on the planet. No matter what comes your way, you are strong enough to get through this moment in time.
Yeah. No, listen, and there's some of us that just, we need that moment to just believe that anything is possible, right? Like I said, going into the winter months where we should be hibernating and hiding, this is where I think you start planting the seeds of where you want the rest of the year to go. Right. And you're right. You touched on something really important. The language that we use with ourselves, the words, right? I believe, instead of, it's so just going back to what you said about should, when you should, you should all over yourself, right? Like the word should is so disempowering. Like you got to take that away out of your vocabulary and say, you know what? I could, I can, I will. Right. And just saying that starts to ignite that little part of your mind that's like, yeah, you know what? This is possible. And we know, there's two ways to really plant a belief, an idea inside of our minds. And that's through strong emotional impact. We talked about this at our workshop back in December. And the other is through repetition. And this is why I love the word, having that one word as the beacon, because when you repeat it over and over, whether or not you think it's true or not true at the beginning, you say it enough times, I guarantee you're going to believe it. And that's going to become your new truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Something so powerful about that.
John, I want to explore, where our beliefs come from. And, today's kind of a fun day. A groundhog predicts how our lives are going to be. We let that happen. And it's going to be it's all over the news. Did he see a shadow? Did he not see a shadow? But this is one of those examples where if we let those belief systems infiltrate us, we can actually have an emotion towards it. So if he saw his shadow, it's 6 weeks more of winter. If he didn't see a shadow, spring's just around the corner. And, we can either feel elated about that or feel, sort of gloomy and sad about that. And really think about that. We're letting a groundhog dictate how our emotional state is on February 2nd. That's kind of a crazy belief system. And I don't want to take away from the fun little game that we play, but it's just a perfect example of when we let these ideas come into our head, we actually then let other people drive our emotions or other rodents drive our emotions. And so, please notice when these things are coming into our head, we're like, oh no, it's 6 more weeks of winter. Actually, it's 6 more weeks of you being the best version of you, no matter what the weather is.
Yeah. And, statistically, it's not even a 50-50 thing, right? Like he gets it wrong more times than he ever gets it right. And, how many times do we have people in our lives who dictate and tell us who we should be when they're, statistically, they're wrong more times than they're right, right? Like we got to let that part of ourselves, as you go into 2024, you got to let go, right? And part of that, and Heather, we forgot, like we haven't touched it yet, but it's Celebration Friday, so we need to talk about what we're celebrating today. I know we're like almost done, but that's okay. You know what? It's never too late to celebrate, and figuratively and literally, it is Celebration Friday. So what are you celebrating this week?
You know what? I'm celebrating that we've landed on our word. That I've landed on my word, and it really feels powerful to me already, and it's starting to changed my language. So the people that I'm
Mhm.
talking to, I'm actually asking the question. So what do you believe is possible this year? So it's already infiltrated in my own language, and my curiosity has been activated by it. And people are like, "Ooh, that's a good question." So the interactions that I'm having, it's building community. And listen, when I chose that word, I didn't plan for that to happen. But this is the
Yeah.
magic of when we choose a word and then let that be our guiding light. And of course, as we always say, we let go of the how. We're not going to worry about how it's going to happen. We're just going to reflect on it on a weekly basis so that we're like, oh, I really like how that's working. Or you know what? I'm going to activate it to a higher degree. So that's what I'm celebrating this week. What about yourself, John?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm with you. Just sharing the concept of having that one word. I've had several conversations with several people about it, which ties back to my other two words, growing and impacting others, right? So, and believing, having that word and having that conversation, and then sharing. And, the one thing I've been really big on is sharing my big vision, my big intention for 2024. And that's to be on stage in front of 10,000 people. And I'm saying it here publicly because the more I say it, the more I believe, right? And just being able to share that vision with people, not hiding it from the world. The one thing I know I realized in 2023 is when I took my vision of doing that Ironman 70.3 in Victoria on my birthday and I shared it with the world, I had that accountability as well. And what
Mm-hmm.
was really interesting is as I shared it, people and supporters came out of nowhere saying, "Hey, how can I help? How can I support you? How can I encourage you? How can I make sure that you stay on track?" So I'm sharing my big vision of being on stage in front of 10,000 people. And, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, Heather. So that
That's
part
the
is,
beauty.
as we're going through this process, I'm exploring it and just kind of figuring things out.
Well, I
But
can already
yeah.
see it. So that's exciting. And the best part, and here's why, declaring the things that we want to do, even though we don't know how we're going to do
Mhm.
it, there's someone that's going to be listening to this live podcast or in the future
Yeah.
that's like, you know what? I'm going to invite John to be a speaker. I'm going to invite Heather to be a speaker. I'm going to
Yeah.
do I know someone that's looking for something. And then all of a sudden, all of these breadcrumbs lead to your goal. I can't
Yeah.
wait, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, next month, when we look back on this episode and go, remember when you declared that this was going to
Yeah.
happen? Look at where you are now. And that's also the beauty. So don't hold your wants and your needs and your vision for your life to yourself, because when you
So yeah.
shine, you give permission to everyone else around you to also shine and shine at their light, like at their light energy. And that's
Yeah.
what we want to do. We want to create this community and this involvement where people are helping other people shine.
Yeah. And listen, I know for us, our vision with this podcast is to impact a million people, impact a million lives, right? Through all
Yeah,
the things that we do and all the conversations that we have. Like we have a vision together jointly in terms of what we want to do with
that's
this.
right.
And we're not deviating from where we were last year. So
No,
we're staying strong. We're here. We're committed. We've had to modify things a little bit. I know some of you are missing us 3 days a week, and it's okay. We're still here for you, and you can still connect with us. But having that vision, having that intention for where we want to be in 2024 helps us guide our daily activities.
that's
And
right.
that I think is so powerful, right? Like with, what am I going to do today? Well, my vision, my word, my intention is this, then I need to do things that align with that every single day.
Mm,
And it helps you become the person you need to be in order to get there.
that's
And I
right.
think that's where all the connections start to happen. And it's like, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's so much
Okay,
fun. Yeah.
let's give everyone a call to action. So, if you have not chosen your word for the year, this is your journaling exercise. Write down a bunch of words and just try them on for a day and see, is that my word? And then, if it's not your word, move to the next one. And before you know it,
Mhm.
the word is going to, you're going to feel it. Okay. It's going to happen in your body and you're going to be like, that's my word. But you got to try
Yeah.
it on for a day and see how that looks. And the other thing that I want you to journal about is, how do you want to feel today and moving forward? Don't let that little groundhog dictate how you're going to feel. You dictate how you feel. So sunny days are in your mind first, not worrying about whether the groundhog said it's sunny or not. So put that in your journal too. How do I want to feel? And that actually
Yeah.
might lead you to your word for the year.
Yeah, no, I love it. And thank you, Heather. I can't believe we're already at the end of time. So thank you for listening in to this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. Talk to y'all soon. Take care.